Hi there, I'm Bruce. Today I'm going to show you how I made these two scratch awls from one piece of wood. I want to make a couple of little scratch awls, and I've glued up this blank of honey locust. I'm going to try to get two of them out of this one piece. I started out by taking the corners off at the table saw. Be sure to mark for center while it's still square. I didn't do this, so it was a little more difficult. I'm using the Easy Wood Tools carbide cutters here, just to rough out the shape and give me two pieces. I chucked one of the pieces back up and started shaping it. I used a pencil to mark some places where I wanted the shape to change. If you notice, the end toward the chuck is where I will be putting the ferrule. This is definitely not the way to go, but I'll tell you more about that later. I sanded it down and then added a few coats of lacquer. On to the next one. This one had the part where the ferrule would go on the open end. I measured how much copper I would need and then cut it out on a longer piece of pipe. Then, I just secured it in place with some CA glue. I went back and started shaping it, making sure to flush the wood with the copper. I added some finish, cut it off, and then finished sanding off the end at the orbital sander. So remember how I told you that the other one was not the ideal way to do this? Here, you can see me trying to fix some of it at the belt sander. That went horribly, so I ended up having to chuck it back up in the lathe and turn the end for the ferrule. I created a sort of jam chuck with some paper towels. To make the metal part of the awls, I used some 20-penny nails. I cut the heads off, chucked them up in the drill, and sharpened them on the belt sander. I was sure to keep a cup of water near so that I could keep them cool. I drilled out the holes for the nails by hand, but if I had to do it over again, I would be sure to drill these out using the drill chuck on the lathe. That way they would be perfectly centered. Mine were a little off center, but that's okay. Then, I mixed up some 5-minute epoxy and glued the nails into the handles. Thank you so much for watching. I really was challenging myself to see if I could make two different shapes of a scratch awl out of one piece of wood that I had. I turned them both on the lathe, as you saw, and it was a fun project. I had one that I wanted that fit really well, kind of in your palm, that you could push on, and this one's almost more like a marking knife. You can kind of hold it and scratch, maybe for leather working or something like that. You can click over here. There will be a couple other videos that you may not have seen. And if you would, please get subscribed so that way you'll see each time I upload a new project. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon.